I always think to myself, nah, let's not talk about the economy this time. Then I look at the headlines. Oh dear. So let's look at those headlines. China auto sales crash in February amid accelerating industry collapse. I'm sorry, that's a bad sign for China. Auto sales are crashing lower. Brookings says China overstated size of its economy by 12%. Unfortunately, not only has the GDP growth been overstated, but all of that growth has been fueled by debt and debt alone. China is a disaster waiting to happen. Next one is state of the world's biggest debt slaves. Americans wimp out in 11th place. I guess that there is some good news in all this. America is number 11 in the world for debt slavery. China isn't even on the scale yet, but it's the fastest growing. But Korea? What happened to you people? And the Swiss are number 1 in the world for household debt? This dramatic rise in household debt in China, though, has me concerned for a very long time. The Chinese are out of control and headed for the cliff. Next is New York City is edging toward financial disaster, experts warn. How ironic that it's the heart of the financial world. Then it's Economists cut global growth forecast in half, admit slowdown has taken us by surprise. Close quote. They were surprised, really? Oh yeah, right. Well, of course, they didn't hire the sharpest tools in the shed to actually do this, so maybe they were surprised. Next one is the dangerous zombie infestation of the world economy. The purpose of a recession, or even depression, is to get rid of unhealthy, unproductive companies. And this is a natural process so that bright, young, productive companies can enter the economy. We call it the business cycle, and it has been working for thousands of years in one form or another. Well, we tried to stop the business cycle, and we've been trying to stop it many times. And the result is always zombies. Lots of them. And they are coming to eat your brains. Next one is China scrambles to defuse $6 trillion hidden debt bomb with titanic credit risk. Oh, and how do you do that without causing riots in the streets? Defuse a hidden debt bomb? How do you do that without causing economic hardship? That's going to be interesting. And remember, the average Chinese are incredibly hot-headed. Trust me on this one. Then, these retailers have announced store closures in 2019, and this is another really, really bad sign. I talked a little bit about this last week, so think of this as a confirmation. Then from Charles Hugh Smith, here's the problem, the pie is shrinking. And yes, this is the problem. Or maybe I should say that this is the core of the problem. And the elites have taken advantage of our ignorance of this problem to snap up all the good stuff with fake wealth. You and me, we get the crumbs. Welcome to the greatest wealth distribution event in the history of the world, and I hope that the elites choke on it. This next one is small business hiring suggests we may see more weak employment data from Knowledge Leaders Capital blog. And small business when small business slows its hiring, well, let's just say that small businesses are always the first to feel the pinch. Bigger businesses tend to react far less quickly. For myself, I think that the recession is already here. But you should probably listen to Martin Armstrong and not me. I've been a pessimist for far too long. And then 12 statistics that prove that the U.S. is facing a consumer debt apocalypse, from the end of the American dream. Number 2 is the one that gets me. When you throw in mortgages and all other kinds of individual debt, U.S. consumers are now $13.5 trillion in debt. That's bad. Then, a perfect storm is developing over container shipping. This is another bad sign. We came close to a difficult moment in 2015, but this looks like we've crossed the line. And it looks like the container shipping charges have been below break even for most of the last 2 years. And you can't blame the trade war on this one, since this is also true about the routes between Asia and Europe. And then Europe is so weak it can't even handle 0% interest rates. So as I worry about China, maybe we should be more worried about Europe. Then I saw this YouTube video called New Signs Confirm the Imminent Economic Collapse 2019 Stock Market Crash. The text that the person in this video is reading is from Michael Snyder, and he didn't say economic collapse. Michael didn't, or even the word imminent. However, I can't fault the guy reading this article for making this the title. After all, I personally believe that this will be bad, and it does sound like it will be this year. But I've been wrong on timing before, so I need to be cautious. Armstrong says that a new business cycle begins again in January of next year. This means that the collapse or recession must hit us soon. And as I have said elsewhere, I believe that we are already in a recession. But we won't get verification of the recession until long after it has started. Just be ready for the worst. And after listening to the video, I went looking for the article. It's this one. New numbers confirm that the global economy and the U.S. economy are the weakest they have been since the last recession. This was the article by Michael Snyder that the guy in the above previous video was reading. And in the article, Egon von Greyerz is quoted as saying, quote, "People must understand that the world has never faced risk of this magnitude. We are now in the final seconds of the global mega bubble, the likes of which the world has never seen before. What will happen next will be worse than the fall of the Roman Empire, much worse than the South Sea and Mississippi bubbles, and will create a disaster that will dwarf the Great Depression of the 1930s. The problem is simple to define and is all based around debts and liabilities. At the beginning of this century, global debt was 80 trillion. When the great financial crisis started in 2006, global debt had gone up by 56% to 125 trillion. Today, it is 250 trillion dollars, US dollars. Close quote. That, my friend, is incredibly serious.